The content you're consuming might be making you sick. And in today's episode, I'm going to cover content sickness and how to avoid it so that you're nourished by the content you're consuming and so that you can transform in body, mind, and spirit. If you're new to my channel, my name's Brenda. I'm a practicing intuitive and I'm here to help you to live your best life and to calibrate your energetic system. We're the only species on this planet that consumes ideas, beliefs, thought structures. So we're actually consuming these things. We're eating them in a way. It's not the same as food, but it's no different in terms of the impact that it has on your body, mind, and spirit. A lot of us are getting sick from the content that we're consuming. So what exactly is content sickness? Content sickness is the effects of over-consuming content, over-consuming low vibration content, and over-consuming content that we don't take action on. And now I'm going to give you some symptoms of content sickness. Overwhelm, anxiety, depression, indecisiveness, a restlessness, a constant need to consume content. If you're not consuming content, you feel uneasy. Poor sleep, lack of attention, lack of focus. That's a really important one that I'm going to throw in there. So those are just a few of the symptoms of content sickness. These can be directly caused by an overconsumption of content and a lack of presence. A lack of presence is huge. So as energetic, spiritual beings inside of bodies, one of the most important things that we can do throughout our day is to be present, to be aware that we're aware, to be aware that we're alive, and to abide inside of the body. And if we're constantly consuming content that's blocking that energetic flow, so if you're experiencing any kind of health issues, if you're experiencing energetic imbalances, if you're experiencing depression or anxiety, that's a symptom that there's an energetic block in your flow. And that's most of the time starting up here, an energetic block caused by your thought patterns. And your mind, body, and spirit are all one unit. So when we're over consuming content, we're creating energetic blocks in our body. So I'm just calling it a blanket content sickness. I don't think that I've ever heard anybody else use that term. Go ahead and share that with your friends, steal that term. Let's get it into the zeitgeist. I want to introduce you to the very powerful map of consciousness created by an incredible doctor, Dr. David Hawkins, who was an actual practicing psychiatrist and an MD. And he had a spiritual awakening, and in his spiritual awakening, he came to find that everything in existence has, in fact, a level of consciousness that it calibrates at. And so I'm just offering this as a helpful little guide so that we can get into the quick little work of doing a little inventory of all the content that you're consuming on a regular basis, on what it calibrates at. And I'm going to give you some tools really quick so that you can use your own energetic system to figure out what is and is not nourishing for your body at any given time. So when you go into consuming content, it's very important to be intentional. Don't go into consuming content blindly. When you consume content consciously, it means you're going into whatever platform you're going into with a game plan. It means that you've got a certain set of teachers that you're going to stick to. It means that any new teachers you do allow in, they're very carefully added. They're not added just willy-nilly. You got your set of people. Now go through an inventory via your body and see how those people make you feel. And be very ruthless with this. See how these people kind of ping with your energetic system. Another thing I'd like to offer is the platforms. I've found that TikTok calibrates pretty low on the consciousness scale, as does Instagram. This doesn't mean we don't go on those things. It just means that we have to realize these things are energetically like cheesecake. It's an energetic cheesecake. It's like eating 3 bricks of cream cheese or something. The reason for that is when you go into TikTok, it's very not at your control. You don't have any control or say over what you're getting. You can't curate in TikTok. The whole point of it is 20-second videos. And you might get one that calibrates real high. It might bring you lots of joy. And then the next video is bringing you down real low. And then the next video is a chick that got punched in the face. She's got a black eye and she's sharing how she was attacked on the subway. And then the next video is the cutest puppy you've ever seen. And it brings you up to bliss, and so on and so forth. And that's the roller coaster of TikTok. Energetically, that's not a very healthy thing to do to your system. Same thing with Instagram. Instagram, you have a little bit more control and you're a little bit more agency in there. But the best platform, I feel, energetically is YouTube, because you've got a lot more agency. Yes, there's an algorithm. Yes, there are suggested videos, but the algorithm's pretty good. And you've got a set plan when you go into YouTube most of the time. Most of the time you go into YouTube, you have a certain idea of what you want to watch, why you're going to watch it. You're not just like in TikTok, even if you do get a couple good hits of videos, 10-second one here, 30-second one there, whatever, you're not going deep into that good vibration. With YouTube, if you find a really great teacher like an Eckhart Tolle or a Muji or Caroline Mays, you can actually go into an hour-long deep energetic bath of a spiritual teacher and bathe yourself in that energy. And it can be really nourishing. Another thing we want to consider when we're consuming content is integration. When you're taking in content for the sake of learning, it's really good to actually take action on those things. If we overconsume without discharge, without integration, we run the risk of an accumulation of energy. And that accumulation of energy, it's in our body physically, and it's also in our mind. There becomes a dissonance. So there's things that you know and things that you're not acting on. So anytime we're not in harmony and we're not taking action on what we're learning, that creates an energetic dissonance. And that's not good for our health. That's not good for our mental health or physical health. So start taking action on a regular basis on the content that you're learning. Another thing that we can do to avoid content sickness, when you get something really good, shut everything down, stop what you're doing, write it down, and take some form of action on that thing that you heard. Or if there's not an action to take, if it's a spiritual teaching, if it's something more esoteric, we can just actually rest in and meditate on that thing that you heard, that talk that you heard. If we just go from one thing that's like, oh my God, I can't believe it, that was so amazing, and then we go on to the next thing and the next thing and the next thing and the next thing, we're not giving the seeds of the amazing, beautiful content that truly is the cream of the crop to blossom in our heart and actually take root. That's when content is actually a gift instead of a curse. That's when, instead of content sickness, we're getting content superpower. That's how we use the content instead of letting the content use us. So that's a little food for thought on content. I'm going to go to questions now. This podcast is open to questions. So if you've got any questions, you can go to brendaturner.com/podcast and you could submit your questions to be featured in the next episode. So let's go to the first question from Taylor.
Hi, Brenda. Just wanted to say that I love you so much. I've been following you for years. I missed you when you went away, but I'm so happy you came back. I just had a question. I got diagnosed with PCOS last year, and ever since then I have been having troubles losing weight. The scale has not moved. I feel like I've tried everything, but it just seems to be making it worse. I was wondering if you had any suggestions for me. Okay, thank you. Bye.
So thanks, Taylor, for that beautiful question. And I'm so sorry about the PCOS. And so I'm going to tackle this from the body, mind, spirit angle, as we do here. The body, mind, spirit approach to PCOS. We're going to start with the low-hanging fruit, which is body. And one of the key factors of PCOS is that it's a metabolic derangement. That means that your body has a different requirement than some other people. It means that too many carbohydrates can actually make things a lot worse for PCOS. There's a fog of insulin that actually is counterproductive with the balances of estrogen, testosterone, progesterone. So try lowering your carbohydrates by a lot. Try lowering your carbohydrates, minimizing processed carbohydrates, and taking a really relaxed stance with it. So listen, everybody, when you get some kind of a diagnosis, I know that the first thing that comes to our system, it's like a frenetic kind of energy of like, I need to fix this, I need to fix this, I need to fix this. And then we start to overdo it and get real hard on ourselves and feel like we should not be experiencing this. But the key for every imbalance is to take a very relaxed approach. So we kick back, we relax and say, okay, I'm just simply not going to eat processed carbs. You don't have to go out and buy a bunch of expensive groceries. You just simply remove the carbs from your plate and just add more vegetables. And obviously consult with your doctor on all this stuff. Another thing that we can do for PCOS and for all health issues is we can take the label and we can just shelf it. So when we're given a diagnosis by a doctor, those are very helpful for pointing us in the right direction. However, we don't want to get wrapped up in identification with the label. That gives us the disadvantage of tapping into the collective conscious of that label. So we start to anticipate the way things will go, and sure enough, they do go that way. So when the doctor says you have PCOS, you're probably going to have a hard time losing weight. You're probably going to have a hard time conceiving children. You're probably going to have a hard time with this and that, this and that, and this and that. We start to take those things on, and the power of the mind on the body is incredible. So we take the diagnosis, we say, thank you for this diagnosis. I'm going to set this right here. I don't have PCOS. I have symptoms of PCOS. It's not something that belongs to my body. We just don't want to over identify with it. Energetically, that's very, very healing. So don't give too much energetic, mental, emotional, physical energy to this diagnosis. The last and final thing that I wanted to offer you is the power of yoga for healing the body, mind, spirit. So when you're going through hormonal things, one of the most healing things that we can do for our hormonal system is yoga. And the reason for that is yoga helps to balance the chakras. With PCOS, that can be an imbalance in the first 3 chakras of the body. So minding those first 3 chakras, I might do a video on healing your chakras and chakra work, the energetic system work. But for now, just getting to yoga class. A good yoga class, a 45 to 60-minute yoga class, rebalances all of the chakras. So that's my recommendation to you. I hope you feel better soon. Let's get to the next question.
Hi, Brenda. This is Evelyn. I recently moved from Miami to Philly. That's a big change for me, my family, my girls. We struggled the first year here, financially and emotionally. The big change for my girls. A lot of depression, a lot of unsureness. I was very unsure. It's been over 2 years now. We're in a better place, but we're getting ready back to Florida, not Miami, because it's not that easy to affordable. But I do want to say is that I just feel a lot of insurance, even though I'm happy that I'm going to Florida. I think mostly Ocala, and I don't want to feel like if I'm not gonna make it, because I will have to find another job over there. But I realized that we're not happy here. We don't really like it. But hopefully, we can power through and try to transition easier than what happened when we came here to Philly.
Thank you for your question, Evelyn. I'm so excited for you, and I'm also really empathizing with your feeling of uncertainty, fear, anxiety, the unsureness of a situation. And so anybody also who may be struggling with that watching this video, I mean, who isn't? All human beings are struggling with a little bit of uncertainty, a little bit of fear, a little bit of, oh no, I'm going to have to make this work. I don't know how this is going to end up. What I'd like to offer you is the very first thing is there's nothing certain in life. So that's part of the reason that a lot of people struggle with fear and anxieties, because, oh my God, things seem uncertain. There's not really much to grab onto in life. And as you've noticed, the past 2 years, your life has changed an awful lot. And that is the nature of life, is changes are inevitable. And so frequent change is the only guarantee in life. Life will give us changes no matter what. And yes, those changes can make us feel very uncertain and unsure. However, what I'd like to offer you is, and what I can just feel is the right kind of call, is to double down on the things that are sure, the things that are certain. And so what are those things? We lean on the eternal aspects of ourselves and of life. And what that also means is dipping into the peace practices every single morning, dipping into the truth. The truth is that your spirit guides are guiding you right now in this time in your life. And there's a reason that you ended up in Philly, and there's a reason you're going back to Florida. And we listen to the guidance, and then we trust it. We have faith. That's that scary word that a lot of people talk about, but it's very hard to practice. But here's faith in action. Faith in action is waking up in the morning when you're going through something that is not certain, that you're not sure how it's going to end up, and you focus on what you can control. And what you can control is how you choose to see the situation and where you choose to give your faith. So there's two options. We can give our faith to the fear, that little small voice that's saying, hey, let's be scared about this. Let's worry about it all day. Or we can give our faith to that still, small, eternal aspect of ourselves that's always present, that is always saying, hey, no matter what, it's going to be okay. So really leaning into the eternal aspects, leaning into your spirit guides, leaning into the ever-present love that we can also call God, that is in the present moment. Fear will have us making choices out of responsiveness instead of actually choosing, out of our power, out of the eternal aspects. So get really calm every day. Make that your priority number one, is resting in the still, peaceful, eternal soul that is you. And then taking the best step that you can each step. It's a lily pad. You take one step to the next lily pad, and then the next one, and then the next one. So these times of uncertainty are God's way of, or the divine or the universe's way of building faith in us and giving us those tools of resting in the eternal, of building our house on something solid. Thanks so much for your question. I know you're going to do great. Keep me posted, Evelyn. Let's go to the next question.
Hi, Brenda. I'm so happy that you're back on social media and YouTube. I've been following you for quite a while now, since 2010. I just wanted to ask you if you had any advice on getting out of a rut and finding your life purpose, and how to go about fulfilling that once you find out what your life purpose is. Also, do you feel that we have a life purpose, or are we just here to just enjoy life? That was my question. I appreciate your time.
Thanks, Ashanti. I love that question. That's a great question. So if you're in a rut, that's a sign that one of my teachers, Marie Manucherry, who I really love, she points to that it's sometimes can be a kind of a lack of joy. So we kind of close ourselves off from just purely acting in joy. And that's just part of the way that life is set up. We're kind of set up, the divine has set this beautiful game up so that we do go through ruts. And each and every time we get out of a rut, we come out of it so much stronger and so much better. And then, I've talked in the past about peaks and valleys, peaks and valleys. We all have peaks, we all have valleys. So if those times where we end up getting into a rut, one of the best antidotes for getting out of a rut is following the joy, following even the littlest thing. What would bring me the most joy right now? If what would bring you the most joy right now is go out for a bike ride, then you go out for a bike ride. It sounds counterintuitive because a lot of us think, well, no, but I need to get to finding my purpose. Like, what is my purpose? And actually, the way to find your purpose is to follow your joy. When your heart is open in a joyful way, as hard as that is for a lot of us as human beings, being a human being is not the easiest thing to do. Let's be honest. Being a human being can sometimes feel very painful, very sad. We go through loss, we go through grief, we go through fear and challenges and uncertainty, as Evelyn was talking about earlier. So it can be energetically vulnerable to open ourselves up to joy, because there's all of these things that as time goes on, we're like, oh, but if I feel joyful, this is going to disappear. And yes, Exactly. A lot of the things we do feel joy for do disappear. In fact, everything in our life that brings us joy will one day disappear. And so it's a very vulnerable experience to open ourselves up to joy. And so that's part of the rut process, is we've kind of lost our enthusiasm and our open-heartedness with just doing things for the sake of doing them, because we're, in a little bit of fear, we're a little bit closed off. Life might have kicked us around a little bit. We might be tired, so on and so forth. So the key is then you get back into joy for joy's sake. I'm going to just go for a bike ride because it's going to make me feel joyful. And we're getting really impractical with it. I'm going to paint today because that's what I want to do. I'm going to take 20 minutes in the afternoon and take a nice, delicious nap because I love naps. I'm going to go to the garden center in my neighborhood. I'm going to go look up meetups on meetup.com, and I'm going to see if there's any other weirdos who love crocheting while we sit in the forest or something like that, and just get more joyful in your life. Being in joy is one of the best ways to get out of rut, and that is one of the best ways to heal your body, mind, and spirit. As for your direct purpose, Ashanti, as for what I can just feel from you and from just your energetic being, you have a lightness and a beauty and an effervescence, and I can just feel that that no matter what you're choosing, one of your paths, as I think is the case for most human beings, is just to love oneself and to also, once you fill up with that love, to give it to others. But you're already on that path. I can just hear it in your voice. You've got this beautiful lightness and this sweetness. And so do everything you can to love yourself unconditionally. Bring yourself out on dates. Go see what really makes you feel joyful and just start playing with life. Just start dancing with life. Just start taking fun jobs. Just start being in that fun, effervescent feeling tone. Okay? And as for the actual purpose of life, I think the actual purpose for each and every human being is to fully express and fully embody that part of us that is eternal. So that's another way of saying to fully express love, but that's different for every person. So some people feel love is like giving a big hug, it's like a physical interaction, a physical exchange. For me, love is just giving of whatever it is that I've learned to the world. I love giving, and I love creating, and I love art. And this is, the video and my website and just all of my career. Like, this is an art form, and so that's love in action. So that's the purpose, is just expressing who and what you are in whatever way that means. Dressing in a way that makes you feel like you, and talking to the friends that make you feel like you, and being in places that make you feel like you, and fully embodying your soul in this body form is the purpose. It's like the ultimate beautiful gift. That's why life is such a gift, even though it isn't always necessarily so easy. We didn't have these forms before we came here, and then God gave us, here you go, here's a form. That way you can actually experience yourself, and yourself being like your soul. You get to experience yourself and share yourself with the world and with other pieces of God. And so we're all dancing in this beautiful, loving exchange, this beautiful gift that's ineffable, So that's one lens. That's my little personal lens of the purpose. Another way you could put it is just enjoy it. Enjoy the gift. Thanks for the question. Okay, everybody, if you want to submit your question and be featured on the podcast, you can go to brendaturner.com/podcast. You can also go to brendaturner.com to check out our free events. Those free events are awesome. We've got lots of really cool stuff coming up. I hope to see you at one of our next live events. And other than that, I'll see you guys in the next video. Thanks so much for watching. Bye, everybody. Fun fact, my channel is the only channel on the internet that won't give you content sickness. So don't leave, don't go anywhere. Watch this video on celibacy. I don't know where you think you're going, but you're staying right here. Stay put. Everywhere else, dangerous. This is the only safe space.